You're about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating talk radio. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
Doctor, tell me true. What's a heart like mine supposed to do?
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. One job I would never want is being White House press secretary. It's challenging. I think it would be very, very exciting. But, man, to deal with the media, to do the hours and hours and hours of research, especially, when you have young kids at home, that's daunting. And I've always respected those in that role. Even Karine Jean-Pierre, even though she had to keep looking things up, and she had a very, very difficult time justifying what her absent president was doing. I respected her for the job that she had to do, because it's not an easy job. So when White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt announced that she is leaving her role at the end of August, President Donald Trump actually announced it. He had a very, very nice post on that. He described her as one of my most trusted aides, will be departing her role at the end of the month so she could spend more time with her beautiful young children and family. A decision I totally understand and respect. It made sense. I know the media wants to make a big deal of this. It's a shakeup, and she's mad at him. And but he said she's going to continue to serve as an outside advisor. She's not going away. And one thing I've noticed about Trump in this second administration is the people he replaced don't go away for good. Christy Nolan gave another position to, when he, replaced his, wasn't his chief of staff. I believe it was national security advisor. I mean, he gave them other roles, because when he finds a person that, he feels he could work with, I got to take it for the flexibility. Trump won, his first administration didn't seem like he had that flexibility. Second time around, he seems to really, really be working with his team. I mean, Karoline Leavitt had gotten to take months of time off for maternity leave. And then even with this, he's really, really supporting her. She was, I believe, 28 years old when she was hired, the youngest ever White House press secretary. I believe she even ran for Congress previously. I mean, so she's a very, very well-accomplished woman, so young. And I was even surprised that she came back. Having young kids at home and babies at home, it's not an easy job, because it's not that you're just having those pressers every day. It's you need to do the research, and you need to be able to answer the question. She didn't keep looking in a binder like Karine Jean-Pierre had to, or Jen Psaki pulling things out of her ear. Yeah, I mean, she actually, would give answers where she was in the room. And so, the amount of research and the amount of face-to-faces she needed to make that happen. And it was fascinating to see when she was on maternity leave, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, J.D. Vance try to hold these pressers. One thing that the Trump administration has done has been very, very transparent, where you get to see and hear, a lot of what's going on. And so when Karoline Leavitt was on maternity leave, they wanted to make sure they were still giving the pressers and giving the briefings. But you saw that that was not their wheelhouse, and they joked about it, and they were very humble about it. And I thought that was very, it was good. It really humanized this administration. Actually, Karoline Leavitt was involved in Trump's first term. I don't know the exact role, but she was working, and apparently when Kayleigh McEnany did not return, I don't know the background behind that. Karoline Leavitt went into a role, and I think I think Kayleigh McEnany did awesome. I think many of these individuals that have held that position have done awesome. But, she wrote on social media, "The truth is, since returning to the White House after the birth of my daughter, I felt in my heart that I cannot be the best mom my two young children deserve, while devoting the constant time, energy, and attention required of the White House press secretary." So I think that's very, very honest. I think that's very bold. And when she had her first baby in July of 2024, she took 4 days of leave because she was on the campaign trail with candidate Trump. And then now with the second child, It was, I believe she took, I think 6 months, was it? But still, and I get that. I mean, as a mom, I have always felt guilty because I took 2 weeks. I only got 2 weeks maternity with my first child. I could have taken more and then been off pay and put off residency and graduation. And luckily, I was able to work where I could take the baby to work and breastfeed and do things. So we made it work. And then with the second child, 3 days. I went back to work in 3 days. And I've always felt guilty about that. Brought the children to work, tried to breastfeed them there, work with them at work. But what would it have been like? What would my bonding have been if I got to be home with them? Now, they always tell me, Mom, don't feel guilty. We're glad we didn't see you all the time, right? But for me, I'll always feel guilty. And one thing about Carolyn Levitt is she's a smart girl. And even though what she has done for Trump has been huge, and her work is very, very beneficial for the country. I think she's seen what a lot of us as moms, go through, and choosing, I really want to be with the kids. They need me. And I commend her for that. I couldn't do that. Had a new practice, had patience. Nobody could run and do the office properly. And so it was 3 days. I'm back, still bleeding, still, but my thinking was, the kids sleep a lot. They're always asleep. So I'm like, I could be working. I'm a workaholic though, too. So good for her. No, I don't think there's a lot of drama. I really do believe that, when you have a child and you leave them to go to work, you feel like you're leaving a limb. In fact, with my first child, I was working at the UMC Quick Care system, which I was really, really grateful for because they hired me right out of residency. But the shifts were 12-hour shifts. And they went from 11 a.m. to 11 at night. But at 11 at night, you still had people like walking in. So you didn't really get out of there till 1 a.m. And since it was about 45 minutes to an hour from my house, I basically would say goodbye to my child at 10:15 in the morning. And I wouldn't see them until I woke up the next day because they'd be asleep usually at 2 a.m. When I got home, I wouldn't, and I only saw my kid for about maybe an hour a day. Oh, it was horrible. And, my husband would try to bring the child to work and it was, so good for her. It's not easy to balance that. And so I think that, she made the right decision. 1-877-DOLLY. Don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So we are coming up on the 25th anniversary of September 11th, and it is frightening to think that there would be anybody in our beautiful country who is benefiting from America's freedom to actually ascribe to the thought that 9/11 was justified, that Americans deserved it. And, you know, I was listening to Hassan Piker, and when he had said and spoke about Hamas and 9/11 and how, you know, the victims deserved it, it just rang like what you would hear these abusers say, you know, who would beat you with belts or rape you or attack you, saying, well, you brought it on yourself. Here's some of the audio that Hassan Piker said.
America deserved 9/11, dude. I'm saying it.
Doesn't matter if rapes happen on October 7th. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much. So that's the other part of this problem that many people that can't contend with.
Disgusting. And I understand, you know, Hassan Piker wants to get, you know, YouTube hits and followers and all that. But then you have this idiot supporting candidates. And the candidates, what the hell are they thinking, sharing a stage with somebody like that? And you're hearing growing sentiment. I don't know if you go on the, you know, the web and if you listen, to these rants, but you have people that are ascribing, and here we are coming up on the 25th anniversary of one of the most horrific attacks on American soil, saying we brought it on ourselves. That really frustrates me. And the fact that the candidates like Abdul El-Sayed squeaked by to actually win the primary. Now, he has since, because he's been sharing the stage with Hassan Piker, discounted it. But you're like, wait a second. You've really, decided to hitch, your train to his wagon. And it's not just a one-off. When Hassan Piker felt the rapes were justified by Hamas, are you kidding me? Babies being beheaded, babies thrown into ovens, kids being raped with their pelvis shattered, and you have somebody that is online gaining followers, gaining traction, saying, well, they did it to themselves. No. And it's interesting because, I've never had a patient who was a Hassan Piker. I did have a patient who was one of the 9/11 terrorists. Didn't know who he was at the time. Came in, saw me for a simple medical issue in an urgent care. And then it was, weeks later, I found out, oh my God, that was one of the World Trade Center bombers, one of the ones that flew the plane into the World Trade Center. But most of my experience has been with abusers, domestic abusers, where you have patients going, look, they brought it on themselves. Okay? She egged me on. She said this. She was wearing a short skirt. She was asking for it. What do we do when we see an abuser who turns around and blames the victim for what they did to them? We throw them in jail. They're a piece of crap. They're psychotic. They're evil. Yet all of a sudden now, since October 7th, and since you have all these people feel like they're going to gain traction, they're saying the same thing. You working on the 57th floor of the World Trade Center and you being either blown to bits by the airplane or burning to death on the floor or feeling forced to jump out of the window and jump to your death because it's too hot for you to try to still stand on that floor. Being told that, yeah, you brought that on yourself There's just no logic. And the fact that you have Americans celebrate that attitude. It's just, when Hamas massacred people, they also massacred Americans. They massacred LGBTQ community members. Where's the outrage? Instead, it's, they brought it on themselves. Really? Why are we allowing that sort of thinking? We didn't allow it before. You're blaming the victim? In fact, one of the things people are concerned about with Sharia law is some of the rape victims actually get punished because it gets twisted into consensual sex. And if they had sex, out of marriage so not only the victim is getting raped, but they're also getting criminalized for the rape. You can never, ever take a victim and twist it around and say, well, I'm blaming them. There is never any justification for rape or murder. I'm sorry. And so, I'm looking at now these candidates going, what Hassan Piker says, that's not my campaign. I just wanted his followers. Really? And then let's look at that. Is that really the group you want to represent? You have these idiots out there that are gaining some major following. All right. Sadly, we have people that are disgusting, and they like to follow those who are disgusting. And the fact that you're choosing to align with that means you have a plan to keep those. When you're running for office, right? Not only do you have to, campaign and promote yourself, but you got to engage that voter, and you got to make sure that voter will last the 87 days or whenever the election's going to be. How do you engage them? Well, you're supposed to engage them by making sure that what you're doing is good for Michigan, or what you're doing is good for California or Nevada, etc. You're supposed to make sure that your policies are strong. But if you are at the outset trying to launch to notoriety, or try to squeak by the primary, using the supporters of individuals who are anti-American, are pro 9/11, pro Hamas, how are you planning to engage them and ensure that they're still not only voting for you, but donating to you? You're giving them something. And so I just don't believe that you're like, oh, no, that's not me. That's not how I think. You need to be stronger than that. And I just don't feel like that. I mean, for them to be able to stand in the same room, if I was in the same room with Hassan Piker, I would be vomiting. I couldn't be near this piece of crap. But the fact that they could be at a pool party, Hassan Piker was there for Graham Plattner. He's there. And Francesca Hong. Now, she didn't make it. Again, still close. And boy, did she make sure that she was very well visualized with Hassan Piker. And this isn't just about Hassan Piker. This is about, there's an attitude that Hassan Piker has voiced that you have Americans going, yeah. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Really? If somebody shot you, would you say, you know what? I deserved that? Now, you have a lot of victims of domestic abuse that feel that way. Well, he cheated on me because it's my fault. No, if anybody cheated on you, they're a piece of crap. Okay? No, that it's not your fault. And there's a manipulation that happens to make victims think it's their fault. Why? Because then it turns them into, it makes them submit. It makes them, it changes the hierarchy of power, which means an individual who wants to promote or align with that thinking plans to subvert you. You need to do what I say. You need to stay in line, or bad things are going to happen because you are, because you're going to bring it on yourself. So the idea of, well, I don't want to say this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to say this, I don't want to, because then it's going to happen and then I'll only have myself to blame. No, that's not America. And it just blows my mind that the thinking we wouldn't allow, and mind you, free thought, freedom of speech, but it would be like, really? I mean, we would be like, okay, you're sick in the head. Is now well, yeah, he's got a point. No, he doesn't have a point. I'm really, really nervous because we are going to be, observing 9/11 very shortly here. And I'm sure there's going to be idiots out there that are going to be citing and reciting what Hassan Parker spews. And the fact that we have candidates that aren't really doing what they really need to do on that, it's disgusting. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
Back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. So I didn't know school had started in my neck of the woods until I was driving down the street and there was somebody in front of me who just slammed on his brakes. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? Well, it's because there was a school zone. I was like, school's back in. And I'm looking at this idiot going, why did you have to slam on the brakes? Don't you just always in general year round consider that, that you just get used to the point that whenever you're around a school, there's kids, right? It's a neighborhood. Well, schools are reopening. Students are now returning to busy streets, school zones. They're on foot. They're on bikes, cars, buses. So unfortunately, there's a spike in safety risks. They say while this recent progress is welcome, the projected 6,732 pedestrian fatalities in 2025, 6,700, were still 5% above the 2019 level. The last year before the pandemic caused widespread changes in traffic patterns and reductions in enforcement. They said those deaths had a financial toll of nearly $94 billion for productivity losses, medical treatments, emergency services, legal fees, among other costs. So I'm really, really grateful to my next guest, Adam Snyder, a pedestrian safety expert with the Governor's Highway Safety Association, about what we saw in 2025 and why it's so imperative to raise awareness about pedestrian safety and practical ways to spur preventative action. Adam, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, great to be with you. Thank you so much for having me and highlighting this issue.
Good. Yeah. So, if somebody doesn't have kids, they might not realize that, school's back in. So what do people need to keep in mind as the school year has started for students across the country?
Yes, well, school is back in session in some parts of the country and coming back soon for other parts. I do have two young kids myself, and we're going back in Washington, D.C. in a few weeks here. So if it's not happened yet in your area, it is happening very soon. And it means there's more kids out and about on the road, more parents accompanying them. That means kids standing on the corner of the street waiting for a school bus. It means kids walking to school, biking to school. It means parents walking and biking with those kids. It means parents driving kids to school. It just means so much more activity and action out on the road. And so it's just a good time to remind everyone to pay attention to what's happening on the road. And you mentioned that driver slamming on the brakes. I completely agree with you. You certainly that should not be happening. We should all be aware of these school zones, but I'm sort of curious, I wonder if he was looking at his phone or something else. I wonder if this person was looking at their phone or something else instead of paying attention to the signs up ahead of them.
I love my kids, but I would joke that when school finally came around, and I took them to school, I wouldn't even stop the car. I'm like, get out. No, stop the car, right? And also a big thing that I'm seeing, parents are forgetting, is kids getting into the car. I am seeing so many parents start to drive while the kid is still halfway out of the car. And in fact, I've even caught my husband accidentally start the car and so what my mom used to do to prevent that from happening is she would leave her door open. And she would not close her door until she saw all the kids back in the car and seat belted. So one thing I really want to caution parents of is if somebody's jumping into the back seat, you might just as a reflex start to drive, but ensure they are in the car and belted before you start gunning it.
Oh gosh, yes, yeah. Well, gotta say, should never really gun it that much, but
Yeah, I know.
completely agree with you.
Yeah.
No, I'm teasing here, but you are spot on in that point, and I just say that that's why it's so important to focus on what you're doing, the task of driving. And that doesn't just mean, looking at the road right ahead of you, which is critically important. That means those early stages, like you were talking about, of getting everyone in the car, making sure everyone is buckled, making sure no one's behind the vehicle. If you're backing out, luckily cars now have backup cameras. That wasn't always a thing. So that sort of safety mindset starts from the very beginning before you even sort of unlock the doors to the car. And as the driver, you are sort of responsible for the safety of everyone in the car that you're driving. So important, just I think from start to finish of the trip to set aside distractions and really sort of focus on getting everyone there safely.
The Governor's Highway Safety Association 2025 findings were interesting. There was a decline in pedestrian deaths, but we're still higher than before the pandemic. So talk to us about the progress we're actually making.
Yeah, so we've been tracking this data for 15 years now, and we did last year find 6,700 pedestrian deaths. That's about 18 every single day. That's across the entire country. That is the third straight year of fewer fatalities, and it's the largest decrease we've seen during these recent years of decreases. So that's positive and worth noting. We still are, unfortunately, above pre-pandemic levels, and the only acceptable number, though, is 0. No one should be dying taking a walk or walking through a parking lot. That's just completely unacceptable. So we'll never really rest until we get to 0. But there is some good news, and I think it's just worth noting because we've had such awful news for so long. Frankly, we had a 40-year high in pedestrian deaths just a few years ago. All these dangerous driving behaviors like distraction and then impaired driving and speeding really skyrocketed during the pandemic. At the same time, enforcement decreased. So a lot of factors are sort of coming into play there, but it's worth sort of noting that progress. Have a lot more, clearly a long way to go till we get to 0, but it's at least worth noting that the numbers are moving in the right direction.
Is it across the board, or are there just certain areas where we're seeing improvement?
Yeah, it's largely across the board. Luckily, for a long time, we were seeing very sort of sporadic progress. But now, for example, in 2025, looking nationally, there were 28 states and DC that posted fewer deaths compared to only 17 that had an increase. So we are making progress. The states in the positive direction are outnumbering the states moving the wrong way. But again, we can't really stop until all 50 states and territories are decreasing every year until we get to 0, and it's safe for everyone to take a walk.
It takes money and it takes funds, to improve pedestrian safety, and sadly, when we lose lives, there's financial ramifications of that. So talk to us about the financial costs of these tragedies.
Yeah, there's financial ramifications, and it's also a way to sort of talk to other people who might not have been impacted by this crisis, and maybe they can't relate to being hit by a car, but they can relate to some of the financial side of it. If you look at things like the productivity losses, medical bills, emergency medical service, legal fees, things like that, you can do some math, and based on the 6,700 pedestrian deaths last year, that had a financial toll of more than $90 billion, and that's billion with a B. That's pretty mind-boggling, and that's just 1 year, just pedestrian deaths, and that doesn't even capture the sort of emotional, mental health toll. Thinking about our kids and back to school season, there's so many kids that are scared to cross the street to get on the school bus or to sort of leave that safe space, and because they've had near misses or been hit by vehicles. So the financial, we can sort of run the estimates on the numbers, but that doesn't really sort of capture some of the emotional trauma that so many kids are going through.
In the last 30 seconds, what other strategies and recommendations do you have to keep pedestrians safe?
Yes, a key one, no matter how you're getting around on the road, is be careful of how you're using your phone. Turn on Do Not Disturb if you're driving so you don't get distracting alerts. If you're walking or biking, consider keeping your phone in your pocket. You can actively do something about distracted driving, and that helps keep you safe. Or distraction on the road in general. That helps keep you safe. It helps keep everyone around you safe. So it's just one quick, simple thing that people can do to help keep themselves and others safe.
Yeah, and where can my listeners go for more information?
Yeah, GHSA has partnered with State Farm for a number of years to try to really change the culture on distracted driving. So you can visit statefarm.com/safe driving. There's a lot of great tips and resources to learn more and really take action to help make you and everyone around you safer.
Adam Snyder, we appreciate you so much. Can't wait to have you back.
Great, wonderful to be with you. Thank you so much.
Take care. All right, guys, don't go away. We'll be right back. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles, along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
We're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So, I'm mixed on this. I don't think I have an opinion yet. But 911 operators being AI. Do you like that idea? Do you not like that idea? Look, AI is infusing everywhere. AI is in your medicine now. It's in your education. It's going to be making life or death decisions for you. Do you trust that? Some people say, hell yeah. They don't like people being behind the call. They say their 911 call isn't getting answered. What it does, it's somebody that's very cold. God bless these 911 dispatchers. I don't believe that, but That's what people say. That they're so busy trying to get information that you're like, help me, help me, help me. And they're busy trying to get the information, and there seems to be a disconnect. And there's even been some cases where the 911 operator blew off the caller. I think there was a murder that happened, and the person that was going to be the alleged victim called 911, and the operator didn't act on it and blew them off, and then the person ends up getting killed. So there's been those criticisms. On the other end, there's been the criticisms of, when there is an accident or something going on, the 911 board gets completely overwhelmed for the same event. And then the lines are clogged. And if you have AI, that could then, make that more efficient. If a 911 operator is overworked, working double shifts, because not everybody wants to be a 911 operator, they could be tired. They could, maybe not, give the CPR advice, and the first responding protocols as well as they could if they had slept, 12 hours earlier. So there's a lot of back and forth on if we should do it. Well, who's trialing it? New Orleans. So New Orleans, excuse me, has become the first major U.S. city to publicly acknowledge it. Yeah, they're using AI. That's the key, publicly acknowledge. I'm sure other cities are already utilizing AI technology, especially if they don't have the staff. And supporters are saying this is going to reduce dispatcher overload, improve response times for life-threatening emergencies. But critics are like, are we sure about this? So the Orleans Parish Communication District, the OPCD, handles emergency calls for New Orleans. They've deployed an AI-powered system, according to Newsweek, developed by emergency communications technology company Carbine. They say the technology is not replacing human dispatchers. It's being used to identify and handle duplicate reports of incidents that are already known to emergency services, particularly traffic accidents during rush hour. According to the OPCD Executive Director Carl Fasshold, dispatchers are getting dozens of calls about the same crash. 911 calls are generally answered in the order they arrive. Multiple reports about a single incident and then slow responses to other emergencies like heart attacks, shooting, house fires. Agreed with that. The AI system is designed to determine whether a caller is simply reporting an incident already logged into the system, and if so, free up dispatchers to focus on higher priority emergencies. Now, unfortunately, you could have two accidents at the same time, so we got to make sure that AI is being properly trained. We don't want your call being blown off. Now, somebody could say, oh, Dr. Dahlia, AI is too smart. They won't do that. Really? Have you ever tried to apply for a job? What does the AI bot do? It rejects you. You're like, wait a second. You didn't even give me a chance. You didn't even, you rejected me. And then I got an email saying, oh yeah, we're about to look at your application. Really? There's faults. And so you're concerned that if you call and it's just too similar to the call prior, is it going to, I mean, right now, I'm not a fan of AI. Like what I went through with Twitter. Twitter or X thought either somebody hacked into the system or they believed that my reposting a picture from the Met Gala, which wasn't bad, it wasn't controversial, it was, one of the dresses, was spam. Blocked me for life. That's AI. Is my call going to get blocked? Are they going to think I'm spam because I'm calling about a medical emergency and it just doesn't like the phone number or the zip code? So I'm a little nervous about that. Even though, yes, humans could screw around with other humans, I am noticing I'm having more issues with AI than I have had with humans. So according to the International Business Times, officials say the technology was developed after identifying a recurring pattern of call surges tied to traffic accidents. The district reportedly worked with Carbine to train the system using real 911 recordings and local terminology, including New Orleans street names and regional speech patterns. They say the deployment comes as emergency communication centers nationwide continue to grapple with staffing shortages. OPCD says roughly 1/3 of its intake positions have remained unfilled. So this could save time. It could save lives, especially if you don't have staff. And this is what blows my mind. You have all these people losing their jobs, all these people not having jobs. Yet you keep hearing on the other end that there's staffing unfilled. Is it because people don't want to get trained? Is it that they don't know that these jobs exist? Or is it that they don't want the jobs? It's really, really difficult to be a 911 dispatcher. God bless them for sitting there hearing somebody die, or somebody fearing they're going to be attacked, or somebody who was just attacked, or their leg blown off. It's not easy. And a lot of these 911 dispatchers I see for disability exams because they have PTSD. So, but the critics are like, we got a problem here. These are voice-based systems. What if they misunderstand the callers? What if they fail to recognize distress or make incorrect assumptions in chaotic situations? So let's say there's somebody in your house and AI is trained with the 911 call, help, there's an accident, there's this. So they're hearing the breath, they're hearing the high pitch, they're hearing the intonations of your voice. Yet if somebody's in your house, there's somebody in the house. They're coming closer. It's a different voice. It's a different intonations, different inflections. Because you're trying to call 911, tell them what's going on while somebody is in earshot. Look at these kids who had to who in the Vivaldi school shooting, where they were in the classroom with the shooter right there trying to call 911 and trying to do so quietly so they want to get shot. That's the AI needs to be trained on. He's in the house. Are they going to respond to that? He's in the house. That they might respond to. And if we have not been able to figure out how to learn AI to be able to get our job application past the first obstacle, how the hell are we going to be able to learn how to tell AI what to do with these 911 calls? I'm not convinced that AI knows what they're doing. I completely agree that you need an AI system to deal with the duplicates. All right, because that you cannot clog the system. We have to make sure that calls can come in. All right, if there is an earthquake and there's yes, you need to know there's an earthquake, but who is calling from one corner, who's trapped in another corner? You need to know that. You need to be able to have that system in place. And if you don't have enough 911 dispatchers, AI could manage more of the calls. But I just don't know if AI is going to pick up on the nuances of human speech and patterns. You also have a lot of people that speak monotone. You have many people on the autism spectrum that might not have a lot of inflection with their voice. There's a shooter. We need you. AI might not pick up on that. And if that's what AI is being trained for, based on 911 calls, I'm mixed. I want to make sure humans are still around. But if humans don't want to become 911 operators, we got a problem. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.